Here is a little prayer coming to you through this beautiful piece of music. Calling the Almighty Edumare Baba and all the gods and goddesses of Africa to help free my people and all the beautiful people who are fighting for liberation wherever and whenever they may need his help all over the world. So you don't turn off your radio. Free my people in South Africa. Free my people in Namibia. Help my brothers in America. Help my sisters all over the world. There is only one reason why I am praying. 'Cause we need peace and love all over the world. Give us freedom and some peace of mind. Help us succeed, get some unity. 'Cause we need harmony, plus understanding. We need unity to build one continent. We need wisdom to get our freedom, and more information to keep us together. Give us wisdom to get our freedom. Help us, oh Lord, build one continent. We need unity, we need harmony, we need information to keep us together. The only reason why I am praying, 'cause we need peace and love all over the world. Lord, give us unity, give us peace of mind. Give us unity and give us freedom, and give us communication. Oh, give us unity, give us wisdom to get our freedom. Oh, give us unity, give us freedom, and give us communication. Give us unity and give us peace of mind. Give us wisdom. The only reason why I am
Magic.
cause we need peace and love all over the world. The only reason why you should be praying, 'cause we need peace and love all over the world. Hey, I am singing about freedom, singing about happiness, talking about liberation. You need peace of mind, I need peace of mind. We need peace and love all over the world.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. This is Dan Cohen.
Welcome to Uncaptured Media. There we go. Here I am. Good to be with you today on a Wednesday afternoon, 4:52 p.m. on June 10th here in Washington, D.C., the nation's capital. Again, I'm Dan Cohen, and just get my phone on silent there. Hopefully won't have any interruptions. That was an awesome song. I love that song from that whole album from Joni Hastrup, the Nigerian soul funk master from the 70s who passed away a few years ago. But that's just an awesome album all around. I was so glad to discover that a few years ago, and it's very relevant these days. As the title of this video is India quietly runs America while mass media focuses on Israel. And that should not be a controversial statement. And for many people it is. And a year ago, I wouldn't have understood that. But it's thanks to the work of, in particular, Mark Kulak of Housatonic ITS that made me take a second glance. And when you start pulling on that thread, wow, there is a lot. And it's all just sitting right out front of you and right in front. It's been reported on heavily, but if you use social media, then your assumptions are that Israel controls everything. Israel controls America. According to Tucker Carlson, Donald Trump is a slave of Netanyahu, of Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel. And so I am going to debunk that notion, I think, thoroughly, as best I can. And I don't know how long I have to do this. I'm neglecting my family while I do this. So I'll do my very best. First, I just kind of want to continue to show what I showed, some of what I've been talking about Ari Emanuel, the William Morris Endeavor Group, who is running Hassan Piker, for example, but he's just a little peanut in a huge constellation of mass media figures. He's, of course, targeting young people on the left, progressive-minded youth, of which there are many, in order to just sheep them back into the Uniparty, into supporting the Uniparty because of the threat of fascism. That's what he said. Here, let's see if we can pull it up on. I didn't plan to do this exactly, but hey, that's how this goes. Yesterday, I saw him on Democracy Now! Talking about the extreme danger of Donald Trump bringing in fascism. Where is Hassan Piker? Here he is. We don't have a lot of... sorry, I gotta show that. I gotta bring that up on screen. Hey, now, here we are. Sorry, I'm tiny there, but according to Hassan Piker, we don't have a lot of time. Fascism is here, and someone has to fight back. And this is about his travel ban to the UK. Him and his uncle, Cenk Uygur, who supposedly, allegedly, reportedly were banned from the UK, from entering the UK, where they were going to speak at South by Southwest, talk to a whole bunch of elites about, I guess, why Israel is bad or something. And it turns out, in fact, that Hassan Piker is represented by Ari Emanuel from the DNC superfamily, Emanuel superfamily, who's Ari Emanuel's brother is Rahm Emanuel, the top advisor to the Bill Clinton administration, Barack Obama administration, a two-time mayor of Chicago, the Biden administration, ambassador to Japan, and presidential hopeful for 2028. That's who's gonna fight fascism, I guess, according to Hassan Piker. But Hassan Piker is just another character in this whole show. And in fact, Donald Trump himself is also has a long-term relationship with the Emanuel family, with all three Emanuel brothers, Ari Emanuel, Rahm Emanuel, to whom he donated substantially, and with Ezekiel Emanuel, one of the top oncologists and bioethicists in the United States. So that show is ongoing, and in the last 36 hours or so, it's been front and center when Donald Trump attended the New York Knicks San Antonio Spurs game in New York City, in Manhattan at Madison Square Garden, and that's been just turned into a massive story all over social media, all over the news. That Donald Trump got booed. Donald Trump, the WWE Hall of Fame member, class of 2013, in which they were in the presentation right before he spoke. Vince McMahon was saying this guy would make a great president, almost as if it's all just one big show. And so Donald Trump went to the game. He, as far as I could tell, he didn't really do anything out of the ordinary. He just sat there in a suite. So it's just his mere presence is so triggering for people. And that's not to say I'm a Donald Trump fan. It's made to be triggering. We're supposed to have strong feelings about Donald Trump one way or the other. Whether you're supposed to, now we're supposed to hate Donald Trump because he turned on all his promises, as if the WWE Hall of Fame inductee class of 2013 was actually serious about those promises to, get out of wars and end wars and not start any new wars and not have people dying on the streets and reindustrialize the United States and these kinds of things. But that was all, of course, a farce, and that should have been obvious really from the start. But it certainly should have been obvious after the first term was basically another Obama term. But that didn't stop people like Tucker Carlson or Jimmy Dore or Candace Owens, the current occupant of the limelight, from endorsing Trump and Tulsi Gabbard and saying he's really going to fight the deep state this time. He learned his lesson because he got rid of John Bolton and Mike Pompeo and Nikki Haley. But, they're going to get the neocons out. I think you just have to be... I don't think those people are stupid who promoted that narrative. I don't think they're stupid. I think they're just national security actors. They're just scripted actors. And that's just a sad reality. But it's something that we have to recognize that we Americans are being misled by this cast of actors on a script. And it's not clear exactly who is writing the script, but I pointed out in another stream that I had to delete from YouTube, unfortunately, that the way that you can really see the exact tactics, the methods that they use to script reality, your perception of reality. The way to see that is the Netflix documentary WWE Unreal, in which they show you supposedly how the sausage is made of WWE, of World Wrestling Entertainment, and they're taking you behind the scenes, and of course this is just part of the script that they want you to see to maintain interest, because the idea that it's all scripted, the fact that it is all scripted is kind of been become it's everyone knows it, and they need a new level of interest. And it's really the same phenomenon as Donald Trump, when he said that, well, he's from the political class, but he's going to tell you how it really works. So then you just buy in even more if you buy into that illusion. And that's what all these people were selling. When Jimmy Dore appeared at the with RFK Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard here at Washington, D.C., and he took me actually backstage to meet Steve Kirsch, the longtime Democrat billionaire who funds the whole fraudulent, one of the funders of the whole fake Maha movement, one of the key figures in that. He brought me backstage, and Steve Kirsch was pretty much didn't even acknowledge my presence. That's the kind of guy He is, and that's who Jimmy Dore is in bed with. And it's sad to say because I used to believe that Jimmy Dore was an honest actor, an honest broker, that he was really trying to get after the truth, but it's so obvious now. It's undeniable that he's not on we're not on the same team. We have different objectives here. He's playing politics, he's going along with the national security script, and I'm not. And that's just a bitter truth that more and more people are going to have to accept about your favorite podcasters. So, Donald Trump at the Knicks game. And who do we have ahead of that saying he better stay away from it? Stephen A. Smith, the one of the most ridiculous figures, absurd figures in sports media. I'm not a huge sports guy. I do like basketball. I do like college. Well, I used to like college basketball, but it's just not the same anymore. I used to like the NBA more, but it's such a packaged product, and that it's hard to watch. But nonetheless, I still do pay some attention to it. And if you know anything about any sport really, then you know who this guy is. Stephen A. Smith, just one of the biggest buffoons, one of the biggest clowns in the sports show for sure. And so he's saying stay away from Madison Square Garden for Game 3 of the NBA Finals.
And I don't want him there. And it has nothing to do with politics, policy, or anything like that. It has everything to do with him disrupting and contributing at the same time to the chaos that's going to be existing at Madison Square Garden. If there was ever a time, if it were Barack Obama coming to the Garden, I would say stay home.
Yeah, no, he wouldn't.
Stay at the White House. If it was George W. or Clinton or somebody, stay at the White House. Don't come. You don't understand what Monday is going to be like in New York City. The subways will never be more packed.
Okay, so he just goes on like that for a while. Now, it turns out, maybe you're not terribly surprised that, in fact, Stephen A. Smith, I thought I had this prepared. Stephen A. Smith, is also a client of the WME group of Ari Emanuel, which for many years represented Donald Trump and the Emanuels, and Ari Emanuel himself has a very close relationship with Donald Trump. And so Stephen A. Smith also is a client of WME, William Morris Endeavor Agency, owned and operated by Ari Emanuel. So this whole thing is just to rile people up, and all Trump had to do was show up at the game, as if that's like some crazy controversial thing to do. And here he is after the game, after the New York Knicks lost at home to the San Antonio Spurs. Of course, it was Trump's fault.
Our president showed up in New York City last night. And needless to say, what I feared would happen ended up happening. The New York Knicks lost. And obviously, I'm blaming him. Why am I blaming him, ladies and gentlemen?
You can tell he's just reading a teleprompter, right? There's none of this that's real. This is all written out ahead of time. He's just a script reader. He's just an actor.
It's very, very simple. Because the president disrupted our mojo. I've said this on many occasions over the last 24 hours, and I'm saying it again. The man messed things up. Now, why did I bring this up? Why was it important for me to discuss this? There's several reasons. Number one, New York Knicks haven't won a title since 1973. At that time, our president was 26 years of age. He was not a toddler. He was not a child. He was there. He was there in 70 when Willis Reed walked through the tunnel. He was there in 1973 when Walt Clyde Frazier dropped 30 plus in a Game 7.
Okay. Anyway, you get the point. You understand the point. And of course, Trump had to respond to him, responded to him too, saying that he's a clown and, you need high IQ to run for president. I'm not sure Stephen A. Smith has that. So Trump's in on it too. It's just all back and forth. The script of Ari Emanuel's WME group cast members One pretending to be a president, one pretending to be a sports analyst, both of them trying to rile up Americans and discredit Americans to each other. That's the whole game, and he's not the only one. You also have
I just hope
this guy, Max Kellerman, telling Rich Paul, who I believe is LeBron James' agent or close friend, that Donald Trump should stay away from the New York Knicks in Game 4 against San Antonio Spurs.
I hope Trump stays away Game 4. People
He might go back to Game 4.
Oh, if he goes back to Game 4, he's like at that point. And the fact that Dolan invited him, can Dolan just let something be good?
Okay, we don't need to see any more of that. Here you go. Here's Max Kellerman with
everybody
on the Rushmore podcast. The Rushmore podcast is Ari Emanuel's podcast. Max Kellerman is another tool of Ari Emanuel, who's just a tool of the DNC. This is all just one big DNC national security state theater. Going back to the Obama administration and the Clinton administration and before that, it's just one big show, one big theater. And I wouldn't have understood that, I don't know, a year ago. But it's thanks to, like I said, Mark Kulak of Houstonic ITS and Jonathan Cooey of GigaOhm Biological that I have this grasp, that I can see this stuff. And, you know, this I'm trying to find the time to do a deeper dive so I can show my audience really how sprawling this is in terms of cast members that are out front right now, and also how deep it goes, how many years back, decades back it goes. Like I said, in that Netflix documentary WWE Unreal, you have Paul Levesque, aka Triple H, narrating, and he explains that you have to look at these storylines going back very long. So when the script writers are writing the script, they're thinking far, far, far in advance of possible twists and storylines and rises and falls and all kinds of things like that. So that's what's really going on. Now, Ari Emanuel, I just want to show that this is, this isn't just mere entertainment. This is real national security. I want to show Ari. So Ari Emanuel is the founder and CEO of Endeavor. Now it's merged. It's now William Morris Endeavor. And so you can see here, after co-founding the original Endeavor talent agency in 1995, Emanuel orchestrated the largest talent agency merger in history in 2009, when Endeavor joined forces with William Morris to form WME. WME now represents leading talent across books, culinary, digital film, music, television, and theater. So think about how fabricated so much of what people think is American culture, how fabricated it is by this WME group machine with Ari Emanuel from the Democratic super family, brother of Rahm Emanuel, top Clinton and Obama advisor, and two-time mayor of Chicago and three-time mayor of Congress, three-time member of Congress, Rahm Emanuel, and brother of Zeke Emanuel, who's one of the top oncologists and bioethicists in the world. In 2012, WME forged a strategic partnership with Silver Lake, a global leader in private investments in technology. In 2014, WME and Silver Lake acquired premier sports, fashion, events, and media company IMG. And in 2016, the company acquired UFC, the world's premier professional mixed martial arts organization. Of course, that UFC, which is constructing this monstrosity on the White House lawn right now in preparation for Donald Trump's 80th birthday celebration UFC fight. That's how big this DNC superfamily is in the Trump world. And nobody talks about that. Like, the only if if you talk about the only time people will ever talk about Ari Emanuel on social media, as far as I can see, is they'll just say, well, his father was a Zionist fighter in the, I think in the Lehi, which is true. He was part of the pre-state militia known as the Lehi and carried out, he may have been involved in terrorist attacks, probably was involved in terrorist attacks. I don't know him specifically, but that's who his father is. But how is that relevant to what is happening right now? I don't think that's very relevant, and that's the only thing people will ever say about Ari Emanuel. They will never say that they will never talk about his relationship with Donald Trump, the fact that he owns the WWE, where Trump is a member of the Hall of Fame. But I want to show you this company, Silver Lake, a global leader in private investments in technology. I just want to give kind of a brief overview of Silver Lake. This article is from June 7th, 1999 in Fortune magazine. Silver Lake and the Deal of the Next Century. Well, that's interesting language right there, just the title of it, the Deal of the Next Century. And Trump, of course, had the deal of the century. We'll skip down. So they call Silver Lake one of the biggest, hottest deals ever to hit Silicon Valley, or Wall Street for that matter. It's called Silver Lake, as in Silver Lake Partners, a humongous new LBO fund that is set to pour billions of dollars into buyouts of undervalued infotech companies. So compelling is the logic behind Silver Lake that money is poured into it like a flash flood. You want to talk about buzz? Poke around a little bit and you'll find out that everybody who's anybody in Silicon Valley and Wall Street has invested in Silver Lake. Tech giants like Bill Gates and Michael Dell through their money managers, and Larry Ellison have anteed up. Larry Ellison, who of course has become, he and Ari Emanuel are working together to create the largest media conglomerate that the world has ever seen, that is much larger than Rupert Murdoch's media empire of the 2000s, where Tucker Carlson worked for many years, the new hero of I don't know, the left hand right. All told, the funds, let's see, so far big players at the major investment banks, and then there are the institutions, GM's pension fund, CalPERS, Stanford, and the World Bank. All told, the fund's partners, who have never worked together before, have raised $2.2 billion in only a few months. So, I'm not going to read too much of this because I want to get to the main thing. Well, I'll show one thing. Buyout master Glenn Hutchins from Blackstone is one of the founders, one of the creators of this. Who is Glenn Hutchins? Well, Glenn Hutchins here's his Wikipedia page, is an American businessman and investor, co-founder of North Island and co-founder of Silver Lake Partners. Let's just scroll down. Chairman of the Board of Trustees of Brookings Institution, member of the Council on Foreign Relations. It's pretty big, pretty influential. And here we go. He in 1992, he joined Bill Clinton's presidential transition team as a senior advisor focusing on economic policy. So why does no one ever, if no one's ever going to even talk about the real Ari Emanuel and what's going on, with the Emanuel family and their ties with Donald Trump, they're definitely not going to talk about the fact that one of the co-founders of Silver Lake, which essentially created the WME group, turned it into this behemoth media conglomerate, was a special advisor on economic and healthcare policy in the Clinton administration. That's inconvenient information. Who else is investing in that? Well, I don't have access to this article, but Silver Lake, this is from September 30th, 2020. Silver Lake launches new 25-year investment strategy backed by Mubadala, Abu Dhabi's funds Abu Dhabi Fund's $2 billion contribution comes as buyout firm nears completion of new $18 billion plus flagship fund. So Abu Dhabi, the United Arab Emirates Sovereign Wealth Fund, put $2 billion into this DNC mass media operation that is essentially in control of nearly every corner of the mass media that we see, from Hassan Piker. I mean, that's just, one little example. Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump. The point is, it's all one big show. And the fact that the UAE is pouring money into this is not just, because it's profitable or something. There are major long-term imperatives at play here. There are real big goals. $2 billion. So we don't need that one. And meanwhile, Rahm Emanuel, who is very close with Donald Trump, I mean, this is from last year, but is Rahm Emanuel just tore into Trump's White House. Here is Rahm Emanuel on The View of which multiple hosts are also represented by the WME group, by Ari Emanuel. And many of them, if they don't have direct connections, they have indirect connections. And they're going to talk about how Donald Trump is very corrupt and very bad. And this guy's from Chicago politics. He came up from the Chicago Democratic Party, which is just notoriously corrupt.
House has a for sale sign on the front lawn. And everybody knows it. Look, I'm from Chicago. We got a low bar.
Oh, very, very funny.
This is a cash and carry business over at this White House. You focus on the plane. Legitimately, literally while we're negotiating against China on the trade deal, he just took $300 million into his Bitcoin business from a Chinese company associated with the Chinese Communist Party. And
with the Chinese Communist Party. Oh, really? What about India? What about that, $2 billion that your brother's company just took from the UAE to create shows like The View? See, it's just one big show. That's really all you got to understand. So so that I just wanted to kind of touch on that so people kind of get an understanding of how this whole thing works. But the title of the piece, or of the real main subject that I wanted to get into, I hope this stream is working. Yeah, it appears to be. I haven't seen any comments for a while, at least on YouTube, and I don't have any way to, I don't know, I can't monitor comments on PeerTube at the same time. But I really, what I want to do is take a look at the India and Israel, and what is not just the relationship, but all we hear about on social media is Israel. And Israel is a country of about, I think, 7 million people. Of course, if you don't count the Palestinians under occupation, but in terms of who are of Israelis, you have, I think, 7 million people. What's the population of India? Let's pull it up. Population of India, 1.47 billion people, 1/6 of the global population. So they don't even compare. I mean, the scale is just remarkable. And India does have a young population, it's growing, and it's outpacing China. So a lot of the conversation, especially, I mean, in just really in all circles that I see, is US, China, Russia. Nobody talks about India, which is just the largest population with the fastest growing economy, and that is out on pace to overtake China's economy. But you never hear about it, and there's reason for that. And again, I give a lot of credit, all the credit, to Mark Kulak of Houstonic.live for turning this key in opening the door for me to really see this, because I was guilty of it too. I mean, I was on social media a lot, accepting the assumptions. So I want to show you as best as I can put together in a few minutes in the limited time I have, what is the real dynamic. Sorry I'm so small there in the corner. Let's see, maybe I can... Hey, look at that. I'm big now. I'm big. That's great. Okay. Just had to press the button I forgot was there. I think just the first sentence is so telling. Really just says everything about the India-Israel relationship. It says, there has been a steady strengthening of India's relationship with Israel ever since India established full diplomatic relations with Israel in 1992. Despite Indian attempts to keep this flourishing bilateral relationship out of public view. That's an amazing sentence in this academic journal. Contemporary Debates in Indian Foreign and Security Policy. India has been trying to hide, or at least it was trying to hide, its relationship with Israel. Well, no more, of course. Let's see. Modi. Is that it? No, that's not it. Anyway, Modi. Let's see. Okay. Congratulations, Mazel Tov, Narendra Modi, on becoming India's longest-serving elected prime minister.
Prime Minister Modi, my dear friend Narendra, congratulations on becoming India's longest-serving elected prime minister. You've transformed India. You strengthened the bond between India and Israel, and you've earned the admiration of millions and millions around the world. Your leadership has propelled a nation of over 1.4 billion people into one of the fastest growing economies in the world. You've also helped 250 million Indians escape poverty, and you continue in this noble mission. Our friendship and the bond between our two great nations have never been stronger. I look forward to seeing you again soon and to continue working together with you in the years ahead. We say Mazel Tov, good luck, my good friend, and good luck to India under your leadership. Prime Minister Modi.
And what does Modi say? He says, where is it? Well, somewhere in here, he thanks Netanyahu. Certainly thank Donald Trump for his celebration. Let me see if I can. I don't know where it is. It's in my messages, and then I would have to expose my public. Oh, here it is. Thank you, my friend, for your most gracious wishes to Netanyahu. I fully agree with you. India-Israel friendship will continue to grow from strength to strength in the years to come. So basically, that policy of trying to keep the India-Israel relationship on the down low has been discarded under Modi. But it even stretches further back than this article suggests. It stretches back to the 60s, but that's something we don't need to get into. Now, there are some amazing Washington Post articles on the India-Israel relationship here. This is from July 18th, 2003. India-Israel interests team up. When the House passed a $3 billion aid package for Pakistan this week, Jewish and Indian American lobbyists teamed up to win an amendment to pressure Pakistan to stop Islamic militants from crossing into India. Wearing lapel pins of the Stars and Stripes sandwiched between the flags of India and Israel, the amendment supporters then gathered in a Capitol Hill reception room to celebrate the burgeoning political alliance between Indians and Jews in the United States. Women in saris mingled among men in yarmulkes, a cacophony of accents united in a desire for access. So remember, this is in 2003. In recent months, pro-Israel and pro-India lobbyists successfully worked together to gain the Bush administration's approval for Israel to sell 4 Falcon early warning radar planes to India for about $1 billion, a deal that has alarmed the Pakistani government. 3 years ago, the United States blocked a nearly identical proposal for Israel to sell radar planes to China. The same coalition of groups, including the U.S.-India Political Action Committee, America-Israel Political Action Committee, AIPAC, and the American Jewish Committee, is now seeking approval for India to purchase Israel's aeroballistic missile defense system. Participants said the alliance has been quietly forming for several years. Interesting. You never hear about this. How come nobody ever talks about India-Israel's strategic relationship? I'm not going to read everything. There's other stuff I want to get to, but I think this is the key quote. We're building a long-term relationship. That's according to Delegate NEFH Faleo Maveaga from the American Samoa, which Tulsi Gabbard, who is definitely a foreign agent of India, who is photographed wearing a BJP sash. She has roots in the American Samoa, but he said, we're building a long-term relationship. So there you see, somehow this stuff just gets totally overlooked. This is the most maybe remarkable article. Maybe we can find let's look at this. Let's look at it right here. Yeah, the actual Washington Post kind of version. This is an op-ed in 2007, 4 years later. Forget the Israel lobby. The Hill's next big player is made in India. This is from 18 years ago that India was outpacing the Israel lobby in terms of influence in the United States. And still, all we hear about on social media is Israel. Israel, Israel, Israel. Little 6-7 million population Israel. And 1.37 billion India, nobody talks about. And if I say that, then I'm accused of, I don't know, they're like, oh, you got the call from the tribe, Dan Cohen. That's what I get nonstop now. It's amazing. It just shows how fake and stupid social media is. I like the title of the start of this is very interesting. I think says a lot. The fall's most controversial book is almost certainly The Israel Lobby and U.S. Foreign Policy, in which political scientists John Mearsheimer and Stephen Walt warn that Jewish Americans have built a behemoth that has bullied policymakers into putting Israel's interests in the Middle East ahead of America's. To Mearsheimer and Walt, AIPAC, the main pro-Israel lobbying group, is insidious. But to more and more Indian Americans, it's downright inspiring. Now, that book is what everyone who believes that Israel controls the U.S. kind of leans on as their pillar. These two sort of realpolitik establishment academics are saying that Israel controls America, and the thesis of the book is that it's just the relationship is no longer actually useful to American national security, and that Israel's just an albatross to the United States, and that it's left over from the Cold War, because Israel was useful for the United States for containing Arab nationalism, but with the end of the Cold War, it's lost its use, and I think that's a totally absurd argument, which I don't want to get too deep into here, but I'll say a couple things. Israel is just a test tube. It's a laboratory for the Human Genome Project. If you remember, let me see if I can actually pull up the article. Yep, here we go. So in 2021, during COVID, a Pfizer exec calls Israel a sort of laboratory for COVID vaccines. So basically, while Palestinians are the laboratory subjects for weapons industries, Israelis are laboratory subjects of global pharma, if you will. And not just pharma, but really of the Human Genome Project, which, as I've learned from Jonathan Cooey and Mark Kulak, and I really knew nothing about the Human Genome Project. The idea is that all as much data as is humanly possible will have to be collected to be run through AI, and they need that to be done through all of the health systems need to be centralized and that data sucked up and stored. And that's precisely what Israel's medical system is. Everybody goes to the army, they have socialized healthcare, so everybody's data is now in a centralized system. So that's what Israel is, and John Mearsheimer and Stephen Walt are completely are totally ignorant of that, are completely ignorant. Now, John Mearsheimer, I'll point out, I think both of them are professors at the University of Chicago, which was founded by the Rockefeller family, and the Rockefeller Institute had a guy named Joshua Lederberg as its president, who was sort of the ideologue of the Human Genome Project, who set the ideological kind of groundwork in the 1960s for the Human Genome Project. So it might actually be that they are scripted to cover up the real role of Israel here. I don't know. Again, credit to Mark Kulak and Jonathan Cooey for turning me on to who is Joshua Lederberg, someone who advised presidents all the way from Eisenhower to Obama, advised every president and is pictured with all kinds of different presidents. And I'm not going to get too deep into the Lederberg story right now, but you start to see the connections. And I'll say one more thing. Stephen Walt. Let's take a look at Stephen Walt, his Wikipedia page. Who is his father? Born in Los Alamos, New Mexico, where his father, Martin Walt, a physicist, worked at the Los Alamos National Laboratory, and was at Stanford, where he planned to become a biochemist. Now, Joshua Lederberg was at Stanford, and very likely had run-ins. There's a good chance he had run-ins with Stephen Walt. There may be some crossover there. There may be, or rather, influence. And I haven't pulled on the Los Alamos National Laboratory thread. I know Mark Kulak has, and that's something that I really am looking forward to watching and checking out. But Stephen Walt's father, Martin Walt, worked 1953 and 1956 at Los Alamos Scientific Laboratory, and from 1956 to 1992 worked for the research laboratory of Lockheed Missiles and Space Company. In 1993 began teaching at Stanford University. So there's a lot going on there, and there's a lot packed into 3 short sentences there. But I am extremely skeptical of Stephen Walt and John Mearsheimer and their thesis that the U.S.-Israel relationship is just some antiquated leftover from the Cold War. I think is complete nonsense. But back to the main point here. In 2007, we have this article about the India lobby being much bigger than the Israel lobby. So with growing numbers, clout, and self-confidence, the Indian American community is turning its admiration for the Israel lobby and its respect for high-achieving Jewish Americans into a powerful new force of its own. Following consciously in AIPAC's footsteps, India lobby is getting results in Washington and having a profound impact on U.S. policy. with important consequences for the future of Asia and the world. This is huge, enthused Ron Summers, the president of the U.S.-India Business Council from a posh hotel lobby in Philadelphia. It's the Berlin Wall coming down. It's Nixon in China. So you have this watershed kind of moment in the early 2000s of the India-U.S. relationship that this American who's the president of the U.S.-India Business Council is comparing to the biggest geopolitical moments of, I don't know, the last few decades at least, one of the biggest of the last, two of the biggest of the last century, and it's just totally covered up now. What would the Washington Post be talking about this now? Not a chance. The whole idea is, well, to pretend that India is just some neutral party who doesn't want, who's just looking out for its own interests in a volatile area. But that's not what's going on at all. What has Summers so energized is a landmark nuclear cooperation deal between India and the United States, which would give India access to U.S. nuclear technology and deliver fuel supplies to India's civilian power plants in return for placing them under permanent international safeguards. Under the deal's terms, the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, for decades the cornerstone of efforts to limit the spread of nuclear weapons, will in effect be waived for India just 9 years after the Clinton administration slapped sanctions on New Delhi for its 1998 nuclear test. But the Bush administration, eager to check the rise of China by tilting toward its massive neighbor, has sought to forge a new strategic alliance with India, cemented by the civil nuclear deal. The India-US relationship is enormous, and you never hear anything about it. The India lobby is now officially a powerful presence on the Hill, again, back in 2007. And you never hear, as Mark Kulak has pointed out, you never hear about this nuclear agreement between the US and India. It's only Iran. We never, ever, ever hear about this monumental agreement. The nuclear pact brought together an Indian government that is savvier than ever about playing the Washington game, an Indian-American community that is just coming into its own, and powerful business interests that see India as perhaps the single biggest money-making opportunity in the 21st century. Oh, this is amazing. The nuclear deal has been pushed aggressively by well-funded groups representing industry in both countries. At the center of the lobbying effort has been Robert D. Blackwell, a former U.S. ambassador to India and deputy national security advisor who's now with a well-connected Republican lobbying firm, Barber, Griffith & Rogers, LLC. The firm's website touts Blackwell as a pillar of its India practice, along with a more recent hire, Philip D. Zelikow, former top advisor to Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice, who is also one of the architects of the Bush administration's tilt towards India. Philip Zelikow, who is one of the authors of the 9/11 Commission report, and Philip Zelikow, Philip Zelikow, what was he doing in COVID? Let's see. He was leading the COVID crisis group. There's a lot more to Philip Zelikow that I have written, but you can see that he was an important figure. Has been an important figure in major national security decisions going back decades, from 9/11 to India to COVID. And if you've watched Mark Kulak's work, then you'd understand the connection there. That India, I think has made a very strong case, had a role in 9/11, had a very important role in 9/11. I can't go through the whole thing. I don't have time. I want to point out this guy, Ron Summers, the president of the U.S. India Business Council. Well, he now runs something called the India First Group. Ron Summers runs the India First Group, a strategic consulting firm dedicated to helping U.S. companies succeed in investing in India. India First. That is just remarkable. You imagine the social media hoopla, the circus, if there was a firm called Israel First Group. It's just incredible, the India First Group, but somehow that gets, completely overlooked. And there's so much that you can really like dig into in here and research. Recent India achievements include helping Gilead Sciences develop and implement its global patient access strategy, instrumental in assisting Gilead in licensing remdesivir to 7 Indian pharmaceutical companies to provide patient access for 127 countries to this effective antiviral in the fight against COVID-19. Okay. Now, consider in 2007 that according to the Washington Post, the India lobby was taking inspiration from the Israel lobby, but was what was bigger already, or it was about to be bigger 18 years ago. The bigger it got, the less you heard about it. Think about it now. The influence of India in the United States, that's just all sitting right in front of us. Well, Donald Trump has very close ties in India. Probably his closest, ally, if you will, is Narendra Modi. He has repeatedly visited India, done huge events where he was so incredibly deferential to Modi, to India, that if he were that way to Netanyahu, then, people would be having, there would be a huge meltdown. It would destroy social media. People would go crazy. But it's India, so nobody really pays attention, or it's actually covered up. Kamala Harris, who almost became president and was vice president, is half Indian and was very deep in the India lobby here in the United States. They recently resigned Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, is a foreign agent of India, belongs to a bizarre cult in India, has a personal relationship with Modi. The director of the National Institutes of Health, Jayanta Bhattacharya, is from India. Let's see. Let me pull up my piece here that touched on that. Some of the different figures. Well, that's weird. Why are there 2 pictures there? I wish I knew. Oh, there's Tulsi Gabbard just, putting some kind of wreath on Modi's neck. That seems normal. The Trump administration National Security Advisor turned UN ambassador Mike Waltz was the co-chair of the India caucus in the House of Representatives. Susie Wiles, chief of staff, worked as a lobbyist for India for 2 years, right up until she joined the Trump administration. Ranjit Gill, known as Ricky, to anglicize his name, is the director for South and Central Asia on Trump's National Security Council, and happens to be the grandson of an Indian officer in the British Army. So, Kush Desai, White House Deputy Press Secretary, Saurabh Sharma, Special Assistant to Trump for Personnel, Sri Ramakrishnan is Trump's policy advisor for AI, though I think he just resigned. Anjani Sinha, U.S. Ambassador to Singapore, and that's without getting into Congress and Ro Kahana and Ami Bera and Raja Krishnamurthy and what's the progressive one in the Northwest in Washington. I can't think of it, but there are many, many, many. And one of the most fascinating ones I did a stream 2 weeks ago or so is Rahul Gupta, who led Rahul Gupta is the son of a secret Indian diplomat. No one knows who Rahul Gupta's father is, but he was appointed to lead West Virginia's response to the opioid crisis in the early 2010s, a period in which West Virginia had the worst opioid overdose death rate in the country by far. And he did such a terrible job that in 2021, after a short stint back in the private sector, he was appointed by Joe Biden, or whoever is running the Biden administration, to be Biden's drug czar. And that coincided with the worst of the opioid crisis. And those, as I show in this article, in this investigation, despite the two photos here, that fentanyl was coming from his home country of India. The chemicals that are destroying America's future, that are wiping out, that are drastically reducing, killing 200 people a day, America's future, are from Rahul Gupta's home country. Mark Kulak found a pretty remarkable clip. He posted this clip of, some India diaspora group talking about the situation with Indian Americans and just how good they have it. Yes, Pramila Jayapal. Thank you. Mr. Elu 888.
The reason the diaspora is staying quiet, Shashi, is that the diaspora is filthy rich and it doesn't want to stick its neck out. Suddenly, it's the richest community in the country, and by far. So
and by far the richest, and by far in such a short amount of time.
Blacks and Hispanics and Chinese and Jewish,
Even Japanese Americans.
This is where the Indians are obscenely wealthy. So
Indians have become more wealthy than Jews in America, but according to Twitter, social media, it's Israel running the country. And it's the same thing you hear on the right and the same thing on the left. It's the same exact narrative that Max Blumenthal, the hero of the anti-imperialist left, is promoting, that Donald Trump is a slave of Benjamin Netanyahu because of AIPAC and the Israel lobby. But nobody notices the elephant in the room.
what's happening is the Indians are beginning to get a little bit worried that what if we become the Jewish diaspora, right? And we become sort of the target of attention, maybe even some amount of resentment and hate. So I have a feeling they didn't know how to deal with it. Some people did talk about.
And I want to be totally clear. I am not promoting hate or resentment against Indian Americans or Indians who have really contributed to this country and want to see the United States succeed. This is not about racial or ethnic hatred at all. This is about the survival of our country. And I reject absolutely any kind of bigotry, racial, national, ethnic, otherwise.
About it on social media, but did not really go talk to their representatives. I know that certain group went and spoke to Ro Khanna. And so Ro spoke about it. Ro Khanna spoke about this. Some people
Ro was the first one to speak, and it was after my meeting with that congressional delegation.
Probably because of you, Shashi. But I think
they claim credit, but
you should take credit for it. But I think right now the Indian diaspora, even after this whole H-1B drama that's going on, everybody's lying low because the truth be told, 70 to 80% of H-1Bs are Indian, right? We are benefiting massively from a system that values merit and does not go by the color of the skin and so on. But that's directly in the face of other initiatives in this country.
I mean, that's such an incredibly revealing clip there. Indian Americans are the wealthiest minority group. They're the largest minority group, the second largest minority group after Mexican Americans. And that's just because Mexican Americans, well, you know, almost half the United States used to be Mexico, and Mexico is the United States neighbor and relies on it for its labor force. So that makes pretty good sense. But you never hear about any of this. Definitely not from Tucker Carlson, who says that Donald Trump is a slave.
Keir Starmer is every bit as enslaved as Donald Trump is. It is illegal. It is a crime for which you can be arrested in Britain right now, criticizing Israel. You say you're for Palestine action, you can be arrested. A lot of people have been arrested. So in other words, it is not legal in Britain to criticize another country. And that tells you about Britain's sovereignty.
Okay. All right. I mean, first of all, Tucker Carlson, you know, now that I don't know how many tens of thousands or 100,000 or whatever the real death toll in Gaza is, he just started to say this stuff. He just started to become like pro-Palestine or criticize Israel or whatever. Well, from 2023, 2024, 2025 even, he was just kind of like, you know, I don't know, October 7th is really bad. I don't know. But now he's saying, you know, Israel's guilty of genocide. He waited. Maybe he could have had some influence with his gigantic platform, but he waited, running out the clock. That's secondary to the point here.
Doesn't have any.
Mr.
Those are
Carlson,
facts. I have family
that is
there.
not true. And in terms of this war, I'm specifically asking...
Wait, I'm sorry, what is not true about that? Have people not been arrested in Britain for criticizing Israel? They certainly have been.
Palestine Action is a proscribed group. It is banned. Therefore, people have been
Why
arrested.
is it banned?
That is correct.
Why is it banned?
I'm asking you a question specifically.
Okay, so Donald Trump is a slave of Israel, he says. Meanwhile, Tucker is pretending that the Israel-India relationship doesn't exist. And, you know, I showed this video before, but no, I haven't seen anyone show this video. This is remarkable.
So among all the leaders
Here's Tucker in India, just a couple of months ago. And look how deferential he is.
that you have interviewed, who do you think came across as perhaps most direct and honest?
Well, that would be off camera. I mean, there are a couple of them I know pretty well who are so smart, and I wish they were Western leaders, but they're not. And I grieve. I am very Western. I mean, my ancestors are from Europe. I live in the United States. I'm never leaving. I'm not from the global South. I'm from the global far North. Okay, so that's just who I am. And I wish we had great leaders. And we have had a lot of great leaders in the past. William the Conqueror was a great leader. But we don't have a lot of them right now. And you go to some of these other countries, particularly in this region right here, the Middle East or India, whether you like Modi or not, Modi's impressive. Nobody doubts that.
So among all the leaders...
Modi's impressive. Modi's impressive. You know, he's just supporting Israel, who's, you know, controlling Donald Trump. But Modi's impressive. It's so absurd. I don't have time to get into how absurd this really is. Keep in mind, nobody talks about this either. I haven't seen anybody bring this up. Who is Tucker Carlson's business partner? The co-founder and CEO of the Tucker Carlson Network is one Neil Patel, Indian ancestry. Neil Patel is the co-founder and CEO of the Tucker Carlson Network. Neil served in the White House from 2001 to 2009. What was happening in those years? From 2001 to 2004, he was staff secretary to Vice President Dick Cheney. From 2005 to 2009, he served as the chief policy advisor to Vice President Cheney. Throughout his 8-year tenure, Neil also held the role of assistant to the vice president for special projects, working on national security and intelligence matters directly for the vice president and the chief of staff. He maintained top secret and above security clearances during this period, and regularly represented the vice president in the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States process. And here, when let's see, Neil Patel, Dick Cheney death. Let's see, what did he write? He wrote an op-ed a few months ago, last year, when Cheney died, called "Dick Cheney was a great boss." That's his. Wow, that's awful. I don't want to see that. That's what Neil Patel, Tucker Carlson's buddy, his longtime business partner, had to say. So Tucker Carlson's supposed turn against the neocons is just a farce. They've emptied the term neocon of all meaning. And the Gray Zone, everyone's favorite anti-imperialist left-wing outlet, is extremely close with Tucker Carlson. Do you think they're getting Indian money? I don't know. It's possible. Now, another angle to this. Think back September 2023, a couple weeks before October 7th, less than 2 weeks actually, I guess 2.5 weeks before October 7th, Netanyahu addresses the United Nations, and I talked about this before, but he outlines the IMEC, the India Middle East corridor, and he's basically pitching that Israel should be a piece of this. Not long before, 2 weeks before that, I should have done this the other way, but here's Modi at the G20 summit in New Delhi. Here's what he says.
My His Excellency, Rashtrapati Biden, His Royal Highness, Crown Prince and Prime Minister, Mohammed bin Salman, His Royal Highness, Rashtrapati, Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed, His Excellency, Rashtrapati Macron, His Excellency, Chancellor Scholz, Her Excellency, Pradhan Mantri Meloni, और Her Excellency President von der Leyen, इन सबको इस इनिशिएटिव के लिए मैं बहुत बहुत बधाई देता हूं.
Okay, notice, who does he not list there? Who does Modi not list in this announcement of the India, Middle East, Europe corridor in September 2023? He doesn't mention Netanyahu because Israel is not essential to this corridor linking India to the Middle East to Europe. Israel's not essential. Israel is tiny. And now that they achieved regime change in Syria, Israel's even less essential. And Israel's in constant conflict. They can't even defeat Hamas. So how are they going to guarantee security for this pipeline going through? They can't. I don't think Israel is very important. And in fact, just today at 11:41 a.m., this article from the Times of Israel comes out. Turkey, Saudi Arabia agree on major regional railway line bypassing Israel. Ankara touts a deal that would curb Jerusalem's influence as lack of Israeli-Saudi normalization stalls progress on a India-Europe trade corridor passing through Jewish state. So Turkey and Saudi Arabia, which supposedly are rivals, have some kind of agreement here that bypasses Israel. They don't need little tiny Israel. So much for Israel controlling the world. Israel and its 7 million inhabitants controlling Trump and making Trump their slave and controlling everything. It's just absurd. These narratives are absurd. And keep in mind, after the Venezuelan president Nicolas Maduro was kidnapped out of the Miraflores Palace in Caracas, now Delcy Rodriguez is running the show as the tool of the United States. Where's her first stop? When Marco Rubio just went to India, Delcy Rodriguez went there too. And then where did she go? To Turkey. So Venezuela is being brought into the fold of this, I guess, to provide oil. I don't know exactly how it works, but you can see what the geopolitical realignment going on is. And Israel, I just don't think is that important. And I think the evidence is on your screen right now. So I got to leave it there. I got to run. But thank you all for joining in. My name is Dan Cohen. Wednesday, June 10th. This is Uncaptured Media. Thank you very much. Good night.